This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host at 77 WABC here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's Bo Snerdley.
My friends, we're witnessing things that are happening around the world today that are just not common in the political process. The stock market, I had, of course, the usual text about how Trump is horrible from some of my liberal friends this morning, and, oh, we're in a recession, we are not in a recession, and all the rest of it, and what are you going to do now? The tariffs, wah, 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 wah. And by the afternoon, we had a spate of headlines that Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P surge as Trump makes shock tariff U-turn, but China still faces onslaught. Stocks surge as Trump announces a delay to global tariffs. S&P 500 soars 7% after Trump pauses some of his tariffs. If you were with us yesterday, you heard an amazing analysis of the entire situation between the U.S. and China from our very own Princess Diana. It was astoundingly amazing. In fact, Princess Di, first time, stayed with us the entire show, even took calls at the end. It was brilliant, beyond measure. And basically, and I don't want to try to paraphrase it because she had so many nuances, but one of the things that she pointed out is that Trump has used these intervening years to plan very carefully how he was going to deal with China. And we both agreed that China, in launching COVID deliberately, which is our belief, did so to hit back at Trump, ensure that in part ensured the problems he had in the 2020 election. And it was launched because of the tariffs that Trump put in place during his first term, which Joe Biden kept many of those same tariffs. And it was all designed not to do exactly what Donald Trump says he wants to do, which is to create a better financial environment for America, especially for the middle class. There is a story today in, I believe it's either Fox Business or it's in the New York Times. I'll have to just see which one. It's in the New York Times today. For U.S. and China, a risky game of chicken with no off-ramp in sight. A whopping increase in tariffs, followed by a whopping retaliation. Nationalist Chinese bloggers comparing President Trump's levies to a declaration of war. Well, if that's what the Chinese bloggers are declaring it, what did they think COVID was? COVID was definitely, and as I pointed out yesterday, I had friends in the intelligence community who at the time I was calling when COVID was raging, and we were all trying to determine how did this come about? And the assessment that I got from learned people that are my sources in the intelligence community was that it was well known that it was a biological attack on the United States of America in retaliation for the tariffs, because China's economy was sinking then. But anyway, let's fast forward to today and inside this article in the New York Times. By the way, New York Times ran a headline, basically that tried to imply that Donald Trump caved in. And he did nothing of the sort today. In fact, his last moves pinpointed something that Princess Di said was happening, which was that Donald Trump was isolating China. And China has now indeed become isolated. Many of the other nations that had been expecting tariffs are not getting them. They are being held. They are negotiating. That is not the case with China, which now has 124% tariff on it. Went up again. This is a huge shock to the China-U.S. economic relationship, like an earthquake, said Wu Jibo, the dean of the Institute of International Studies at Fudan University in Shanghai. It remains to be seen if this is temporary turmoil or long-term unavoidable trend. To be sure, a U.S.-China decoupling is still far from becoming reality. Chinese and American companies like TikTok and Starbucks are both still entrenched in each other's countries. And Chinese banks remain hitched to the U.S. dollar-dominated financial system. Very, very important aspect there. President Xi has made no direct comments about the tariffs. He had a meeting with 6 of the other members of the Politburo there, the Standing Committee. That's the real power in China. And so, yeah, he's meeting with them. He called on officials to bolster ties with China's neighbors and strengthen industrial and supply chain cooperation. They're panicked, folks. A spokesman for China's foreign ministry, Lin Yan, addressed the new tariffs on Wednesday, saying China would never accept such arrogant and bullying behavior, which anyone that understands the way that China has been operating on the world stage ever since they entered into the World Trade Organization, that is a laughable statement. But all of this, there's another paragraph about how China is trying to downplay everything. It says it's reduced its reliance on U.S. market for exports. But that papers over, says the New York Times, serious problems in the Chinese economy, which has become largely stagnant because their property markets have collapsed. Moreover, Mr. Trump's Mr. Trump's assault on the global trading system, which includes targeting countries like Vietnam, where Chinese companies had opened factories to circumvent U.S. tariffs, strikes at the core of China's only current economic bright spots. One of their bright spots. That's this trade business. The fallout from the trade disruption will hurt the United States, which relies on China for all sorts of manufactured goods, but it will do more damage to China, says Wang Yusheng, the director of the Institute of International Economics at Peking University. The impact on China is mainly that Chinese products have nowhere to go. That will ravage export-oriented companies making things like furniture, clothing, toys, and home appliances along China's eastern seaboard, which largely exists to serve American consumers. These companies will be hit very hard. Now, what happens? What happens when companies get hit very hard, folks? They start firing people. What happens when tens, thousands, or in this case, millions of Chinese citizens are out of work in cities along their eastern seaboard. Are they happy people? Well, no. And what happens when you have millions of unhappy people who are broke? What happens? That is where we are right now, because China has refused to play ball and nobody enforced it. Now, let me quickly, I'm looking at the clock. We will take a break because, folks, I've got to get into some things here today.
Rush.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley.
On 77 WABC.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
Vacations will never be the same. Welcome to the theme parks of Universal Orlando Resort. With spectacular hotels and more, Universal Orlando offers an entire week of vacation awesome. Visit universalorlando.com.
I'm Dr. Jen Ashton, your host for Season 2 of The Visibility Gap, a podcast presented by Cigna Healthcare. Throughout this season, we'll be tackling something vital, the women's health gap. We'll hear from real people and experts as we unpack important topics like maternal health, menopause, and heart disease. Listen in and download the new season wherever you get your podcasts.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
But I want to get very quickly to some of these sound bites that we have today, and so I'll hold off my take on this until after the next break. Number 19, Scott Bessent was out, and this is one of the things he said today.
We saw the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today. It has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, they're in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff for them, and China will be raised to 125 due to their insistence on escalation.
We're not going to reward you guys that didn't retaliate. As for you, China, guess what? The price just went up again. Deal with it. Caroline Leavitt had followed the Secretary of the Treasury. She had this to say.
Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this presidential office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher.
I want to go to cut 5. Listen more to Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary. He was on CNBC earlier before that announcement, and this is from there.
If we put up a tariff wall, the ultimate goal would be to bring jobs back to the U.S., but in the meantime, we will be collecting substantial tariffs. As I've said, I believe on this show that if we're successful, tariffs would be a melting ice cube in a way, because you're taking in the revenues as the manufacturing facilities are built in the U.S., and there should be some level of symmetry between the taxes we begin taking in with the new industry from the payroll taxes as the tariffs decline.
Now, one more. This is my favorite of all of them. Listen to this, cut 4.
For the last 4 decades, basically since I began my career in Wall Street has grown wealthier than ever before, and it can continue to grow and do well. But for the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree?
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet?
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
Revolutionize your cooking with the Tefal Infrared Air Fryer. Watch as your food crisps up through a large lighted window and delight in faster, crispier, and juicier results with no preheating thanks to Tefal's advanced infrared technology. Discover the future of cooking and bring innovation into your kitchen by visiting Tefal.com.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Get ready for Netflix's gripping new medical drama, Pulse. Set in a cutting-edge Miami trauma center, third-year resident Dr. Danny Sims is unexpectedly thrust into a promotion when beloved chief resident Dr. Xander Phillips gets suspended. Then, with the emotional and physical stakes at their highest, a storm will push the hospital and its residents to their limits. Witness how life can change in a heartbeat when you're operating under pressure. Watch Pulse, only on Netflix.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
I said on this program, it was maybe a month or two ago, that for many people who have spent their life following politics, especially if they lean conservative, lean Republicans, we have never, ever had a president like Donald Trump. We, as conservatives, have always been on the outside looking in. And then when you get a presidential administration that's Republican, when you get even a success in the House or the Senate, very often you're left unsatisfied with what takes place. We have never had a president that actually went on total offense with the left. It's always been tail between the legs, defending yourself all the time. No, we're not racist. No, we're not. No, we don't want to take the food out of babies' mouths. No, we're not trying to push grandma over the edge of the cliff with Social Security. No, we're not any of those awful things. And the mainstream messages, the mainstream press just pounds and pounds on whoever that Republican president is, and they cower and they live in fear. Occasionally they'll say something back, but for the large part, it has been a status quo. Republicans evil, Democrats, liberals good. We have never seen this in our lifetime, what Donald Trump is doing. Consider this, my friends. Donald Trump is dismantling a 92-year-old infrastructure that Democrats put in place so that they could become a permanent bureaucracy and govern as a party as if they are the sole party that determines what's right and what's wrong in America. That program, those series of programs I'm talking about, were the New Deal, put in place by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1933. They defined the Democrat Party as being successful in ever growing government to take care of people and to remove the idea from Americans that they were capable of taking care of themselves. You needed the government to take care of you. Whether you're old, whether you're sick, whether you are infirmed, whether you have a race or racial, you're black, you need the government. You whatever it is, you need the government to fix it. You don't pray, because government will be your God. Government will fix it for you. Donald Trump is dismantling that infrastructure of big government, agency by agency. We are watching it happening, and you are seeing the utter turmoil and the hatred pour out of Democrats. He's dismantling the remnants of the Great Society. Jonas, I bet you didn't learn in school about the Great Society, because you know who even came up with the Great Society? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's all good. Nope. I don't
LBJ. LB, Lyndon Baines Johnson. After Kennedy was assassinated, here comes old LBJ. Why, we gonna have the Great Society. We gonna put them those people, we gonna make sure that them people are taken care of. We're gonna pass them. Democrats tried to stall it, by the way. Filibustered it because they didn't want the Civil Rights Act passed. It was Republicans that gave the votes to finally pass the Civil Rights Act. But that was, in one word, let me explain it to you very simply. That's when many Americans decided, thanks to the Great Society, that their life would be better on welfare than working. Why, we gonna give them money. We gonna make them dependent on us. And every iteration of welfare comes from basically two ideological places. One, the New Deal, and then grown into the Great Society. And what happened? Well, for black families in America, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. In the 1950s, the highest rate of two-parent households were black folks in America. Yes, it really happened. Guess what? Black folk had the lowest rate of abortions in America. Within generations, 2-3 generations of the Great Society, blacks had the highest rate of single-parent households. Government was paying women to have babies out of wedlock, and here you get supported, you don't need that man. And the highest rate of abortions. Genocide them all out. Kill them out. That's your Great Society in a nutshell. Along with what happened in education.
That's why they didn't teach it in school.
Yeah, well, and they wouldn't teach it that way anyway. They teach it as he was trying to save black folks, which brings me to the point of this whole Great Society that Donald Trump is dismantling the remnants of. What it did was, used the pretext of getting rid of Jim Crow, those laws, discrimination against black people. By the way, Jim Crow, where did that come from? By another Democrat, Woodrow Wilson, who, Great War, this was the guy that showed Birth of a Nation, basically a Klan supportive movie in the White House. This was the guy that resegregated the federal government so that black people could not work in civil service and everything else. Democrat, Mr. Progressive, Woodrow, the father of the father, even though it escalated under Clinton, of globalization. The League of Nations, all of that, Woodrow Wilson. Okay, so the Democrats used the pretext of getting rid of their own invention, Jim Crow, to usher in something else. The government version of Jim Crow, which was kinder and gentler oppression, will keep you, you're still going to be oppressed, but instead of the states doing it and running roughshod over you in broad daylight, what we'll do is put your families on welfare. What we'll do is make sure that you are economically and educationally deprived for as many generations as we can do it. And that is what happened in America. So the heavy boot of Democrat Party Jim Crow at the state level went out under the pretext of civil rights, and in came this new kind of digital, now it's in the digital age, the digital plantation, where we can just send you the EBT cards and keep you digitally enslaved. Donald Trump is dismantling all of this. He's dismantling an economic system of endless government spending with no accountability whatsoever. The Treasury Department acts like the Democrat Party private fiefdom. No controls. One bank account, money just flying out, billions flying out with no controls, no verifications, as we have learned. We're finding massive fraud, and Democrats are unhappy about it. He's dismantling the worldwide liberal agenda, the funding mechanism that kept liberalism around the world funded by the United States of America, including NATO. Why, we'll pay for your security. You don't have to pay. And all you have to do is just be a little compliant. Just mouth the right words when we want you. But we'll send you money. You can build your own welfare systems and train leftists by the millions, and the United States will pay for it, and will pay for it by not enforcing the idea that Americans should be treated fairly with trade. Trade deals have benefited Europe, China, Asia, the rest of the world, while American workers suffered. Global financiers benefit. The American middle class suffered. Then when China got pissed off, what did they do? And thank you, Countess of Conspiracy says, you must mention that we helped with this COVID thing. Yes, Countess, you're right. Of course we did. Not we, but they did. With gain of function research, and then lied about it. And then when we try under Donald Trump to get the level playing field, what did they do? They declared biological war on us with a pandemic. And there's been no accountability until now. Now, this same president that is dismantling this liberal infrastructure that has infested the world is taking on the biggest oppressive power in the world, China. They use every backdoor mechanism they can, like putting factories in other countries. I found out one of the reasons that this thing with Canada that was going on. Well, they've been putting factories in Canada so that they could circumvent and then just ship the goods right here to the United States. Donald Trump is wise to all of these guys, and he has played this beautifully. We have never seen anything like it. Donald Trump has done more in 4 months of his presidency than most American presidents have done in 4 years. In terms of what his vision, the scope of what he is doing, has never been attempted before. He is dealing with a 102-year built machine of liberal ideology from Woodrow Wilson, from the 1913 all the way up to present. He's through iterations of Democrats, through Woodrow Wilson, then through Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and then the next big leap was from Lyndon Johnson, followed by Bill Clinton turning over America to the globalists. And Donald Trump is trying his best to reverse all of it so that the American people benefit here. That's what's going on with this president. We have never, ever seen anything like it. And then we got to listen to people like this. Place 13. Then we have to listen to commentary like this from Chris Matthews on Morning Joe.
But this other thing, I watched on the evening news last night, one of the other networks, and I watched the issue of lumber. Now, you see, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s, from Canada. Where we get it from? Canada. We get our newsprint from up there for newspapers. The fact is we get it. What are we going to do? Have more lumber made in the United States now? What is our plan now? Oh, we're not going to import wood, so we're going to make more wood? We're going to create more wood? Is that it? I don't think we are in a position to simply replicate the imports coming into this country with our own products. It can't always be done. And I think if a wood's example of that, wood. Are we going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal? I don't think so.
Chris, we grow wood. God created the wood. We don't create wood. God created it. Along with everything else in creation, God created it. And we have plenty of tree plants because that's what they are. They're plants. Ever heard of Oregon? They're big. Ever heard of Oregon? Ever heard of Washington State? Ever heard of Alaska? Ever heard of... We have more wood around America than they do in Canada, most likely. Yes. What did we do before we started importing wood from Canada? We used wood from America. And guess what, Chris? It grows back. When you cut it down, it grows back. Because that's the way God planned it. A renewable source. It grows back. James Golden, Snerdley.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley.
On 77 WABC.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
American Giant makes great clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, and more right here in the U.S. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code STAPLE20.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
I'm going to get moist-eyed here, big him. Or whatever it is that these people seem to be. And I went so far, actually, yesterday.
Don't try to make
sense. Arnold and Porter. That also was very moving because something people want, and I wanted, and I was.
He's crying.
We're all in this together.
He's crying.
And some people just don't give a and that makes me angry. Granddaughters of Judge Rifkin, it's the eloquent.
Yeah, okay, enough. That's Joy. Joyce was crying. I think he went to the border or something. I can understand what he's saying. He's crying. Anyway.
James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Jacqueline in New York. Hi, Jacqueline. How are you?
Good afternoon, James. I'm very well, and I hope you are doing fabulous, too. You so accurately pointed out, as you always do with all of your topics, how LBJ started to destroy black families. And I want to share with you, decades ago, I saw it in my own upper middle class white neighborhood that the government then started attacking white families to continue where they left off with the black families and start destroying them. And they've become very, very successful at doing that over the decades. And now my neighborhood is very mixed. It's over 50% Asian. And I can tell you from what I've seen in my neighborhood, they are now going after the Asian families to successfully destroy them. And I believe that their ultimate goal is to completely destroy society so that every single person will be dependent on government handouts.
And there was a lot that I did not say. And you hear Jasmine Crockett, of all people, saying it, you know, we ain't picking cotton no more. In other words, that's the job for the Hispanics now. These people are so blatant, they don't even realize some of the things that they said. We ain't picking cotton no more. And what are you saying? And this entire move for cheap labor all around the world, which is part underlying all this trade stuff. Jacqueline, thank you. Got to run. Debbie, got to get you in real quick before we have to go. How are you, Debbie?
I'm great. And about the tariffs, listen, we live with things we can't afford right now. We trust Trump with everything. I bought stocks because it dipped. This guy, our president, was saved by a divine savior, and we're going to trust him in all this.
Thank you, Debbie. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. God willing, we're back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.